1, 2, is this on?
The roar of the crowd and thrill of performing has resulted in plenty of wrestlers working past their prime.
I had to accept that it took less and less to hurt me worse and worse for longer and longer periods of time.
Even when age and injuries have caught up with them, they still went out there to put on a show, for better or worse.
He came inches, centimeters away from, breaking his neck.
For this video, we'll be looking at those who hung on for too long.
And by the time they had me wrestle, I looked like an old man. Taking those 9 months off, especially at my age, close to 50, I shut down. My body shut down.
Be it for financial reasons,
I went back to work because I needed the money, plain and simple.
or for the rush of that one last pop.
He just hung on too long. It's not because of the money. It's not because of their ego. It's because of this relationship that you get, this feeling you get in your veins. It's an exchange of positive energy that you can't get anywhere else.
Today, we highlight 10 WWE wrestlers who worked way past their prime. Mick Foley wanted to do one more run for WWE in 2012, where he would have worked the program with Dean Ambrose as a way to bring the FCW talent up from developmental.
I need to be held accountable. I don't care what you have to say. You're a criminal. You're a criminal, Mick. You're a liar.
After shooting the angle with Ambrose on social media, Foley was then told by a neurologist that in no uncertain terms he should never wrestle again. Mick had taken his fair share of head trauma over the years, but it's believed his run in TNA, which lasted until the previous year, really fast-tracked his retirement.
There's a big difference between the 2004 Mick Foley returned to wrestle Randy Orton and the 2008 Mick Foley. Couldn't quite get under 290, but I could not work out hard or else I would injure myself.
Despite having already run up so many miles on the clock, the hardcore legend still took some outrageous risks for TNA, doing so in every match he performed in.
No, he's trying to put Jared back in the Billy Bob. Look at the elbow! Oh, man! Foley! He's going for the elbow! On the concrete!
Here on the concrete.
So the orthopedic guy, because I've been doing this 25 years, this is one of the worst tips I've ever seen. To be honest, I don't know how you're still walking.
Though Mick was a lot slower and less mobile than before, given his age and condition, this resulted in him receiving numerous concussions within a short space of time.
Team 3D! Brother Ray and Brother Devon out here!
Did you see what happened to Mick Foley? Oh, man!
Foley up! Foley chokeslammed into the barbed wire!
I started looking, kind of ignoring the fact that I was getting concussed in just about every comeback match I had. And then there was one, it was just Samoa Joe giving me forearms, but I'm seeing stars.
And even though he didn't know it at the time, it was the final nail in the coffin for Foley's career.
Nash worn down sufficiently to connect. Oh, God, did you hear that?
Oh, wow, wow!
Comes right in abyss. Oh, left hole slam directly into the tag.
Oh, my God! Oh, my God! Jesus!
I had to accept that it took less and less to hurt me worse and worse for longer and longer periods of time.
Wow.
And my big regret is that the moment I put the period on that sentence, that I didn't retire and say, I should never be in the ring again. I'm disappointed in myself, and I think it was a real lesson in appreciating what you have.
Mick attempted another return in 2024 for one final match. He was slimming down and getting in shape.
I'm taking it slow. I'm doing the DDP yoga. I'm back in the pool. And I'm feeling pretty good.
I'm hoping when it's done, there'll be a sense of peace among the fans and a sense of inner peace for myself.
But once again, all the years of head injuries came to the forefront. Foley suffered a concussion while training, which squashed all plans of a comeback.
If I can get concussed from something I'm not even aware of, then some of the things that I was thinking of doing and hoping of doing in a big match would not be smart.
Foley's run in TNA did more damage to his body than anything, but Ric Flair's done more damage to his legacy given the circumstances. Flair had one of the most perfect retirements in wrestling history. However, after going through another divorce, Flair got back in the ring a year removed from hanging up his boots. He did this to work against Hulk Hogan on a tour of Australia. The tour itself had plenty of issues, but the matches between the Nature Boy and the Hulkster went down quite well. The Nature Boy had reportedly asked Vince McMahon if he could return to action, but after the chairman refused, Rick knew TNA was the only place he could wrestle and still make decent money.
I didn't think I was up to it by any means because I wasn't taking anything serious at that point in my life. That was just, marriage number 4 turning into a catastrophe. I went back to work because I needed the money. Plain and simple.
For the next year and a half, Flair wrestled numerous matches for the promotion. He was still the Nature Boy, but it felt more like we were watching Mickey Rourke's Randy the Ram character from The Wrestler, as Nate was too old to be wrestling, to the point where it was quite hard to watch.
I don't think anybody wanted to see Rick back in the ring. I think Rick looked at it as, okay, here's another payday for me. Here's here's a contract. I'm going to go do this.
With that candlestick, look at Rhodes! Double R spine buster by Rude on a dazed, worn out Flair. Look at Mick, look at Mick! Here he goes! Barbed wire! Right into the face!
Flair suffered a broken bursa sac in his left arm, taking a superplex from Sting. Are you just thankful that it's almost over?
Yeah.
You're hurt, right?
Yeah, well, I wasn't worried about hurt as long as I just know how embarrassing it must look. See, I couldn't even get off my side there, see it?
Flair wrestled his final match in 2022, aged 73, but the less said about that, the better. Tony Atlas has summed up his career as too much too soon. In 1983, he was one half of the WWF Tag Team Champions with Rocky Johnson, but by the late 80s, the former Mr. USA was homeless, sleeping on a park bench addicted to substances, after going through a messy divorce.
This here was my home, right here. It's where I slept.
Atlas was on the verge of ending it all before his future wife took him in off the streets. Tony then got a second chance with the World Wrestling Federation in 1990, where he wrestled for 8 months, though at the end of the decade, he was struggling to make ends meet once again. Atlas wasn't hooked on anything this time around. It was simply just an example of what can happen when the pop fades. These days, legends of the past can make a steady income on the convention circuit and through merchandise deals with the big two companies, none of which was possible back then. Basically, if you didn't work for WWF or WCW, there was a limit to the amount of money one could make on the independent scene. WWE came calling again in 2006 for the Hall of Fame, and then to become Mark Henry's trainer on the road and manager on screen. After being released in 2010, Tony went back to working the independents, where he still wrestles several matches a year now, age 71.
I'm not financially secure. I'm not that well educated. The only thing I got left is my health and strength.
Atlas is doing better these days compared to before, but his career remains a cautionary tale. Like Atlas, Jake the Snake Roberts' post-prime struggles have been well documented, as he wrestled far past his prime out of necessity.
It was basically a necessity, just to continue. And you took pills to go to sleep, you took pills because of your pain, you took cocaine to wake up so you could perform, you drank to go to sleep, you took sleeping pills.
1999's Beyond the Mat followed Jake during his lowest point, where he was estranged from his family, wrestling small shows while working under the influence of alcohol and substances.
A lot of the guys that night put in bad performances just because they were out of shape or past their prime, but with Jake, he was legitimately on planet Neptune.
When I caught up with him a few hours later, he was doing crack.
It was about as far down as you could get in wrestling without starting over. Jake stayed like this for many years, almost succumbing to his demons, relegated to working in high school gyms to fund his addiction.
Oh, God.
Jake right behind him, and takes a knee to the head, but he holds on. But Jake couldn't hold on for long.
And then he called us up, and Jake told us straight up if we didn't get him some crack, then he wasn't going to come to our show.
It was a tragic sight and a warning of how historically the full-time wrestling life could eat someone up.
They say when you hit bottom, it's time to stop digging. You know, that's real easy to say, especially when you're sitting on top looking down at the dumbass that's digging his own grave. I've got 8 children. I've got 4 that still don't want much to do with me, and I understand why, because I wasn't there.
Though unlike so many others, Robert's story has a happy ending. He turned his life around after being taken in by DDP.
It's called the accountability crib for a fucking reason. If you want to stay with us, you don't drink ever again.
This is the greatest high I've ever been on. DDP yoga, I've lost 65 pounds so far.
Page got Jake healthy again while helping him get and remain sober, allowing Roberts to maintain this clean lifestyle.
Dallas saved my life. I know that.
Today, Jake manages various AEW talent on TV and doesn't have to wrestle for outlaw indie shows anymore to make money.
My history will not be my destiny. My past will not look like my future.
Dusty Rhodes wasn't in the best financial situation at the start of the 2000s. This resulted in him stepping back in the ring, where he featured for Extreme Championship Wrestling.
Right away, Dusty goes to the bionic elbow.
He drives the elbow into that laceration.
And even though he was long past his peak, now in his mid-50s, Dusty's memorable run in ECW helped get his confidence back, as well as providing some financial security he needed at the time.
ECW gave my father his confidence back, and I can never, ever repay you for that. Thank you very much.
Also in 2000, Dusty started up his own promotion called Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling, which ran for 3 years and saw him wrestle on numerous occasions.
My dad had started his own independent promotion. It was a bit of a financial disaster. It was like throwing $3 million in a hole. A lot of fun, but wasn't lucrative.
In fact, from 2000 up until his final match in 2010, Dusty worked close to 100 matches.
Dusty going up top. Drives down off the third rung with the elbow. Yeah! Big bionic elbow to the chest. Cover two.
Sure, Rhodes was limited in what he could do, but when it all came down to it, this was still the American dream mixing it up and putting on a show for the audience.
Piper situation on WWE.
Oh, watch out for that bionic elbow there, Nikki. You don't want any of that. Hell again. Oh, almighty. Good Lord.
Andre the Giant's decision not to receive treatment for his acromegaly condition ultimately shortened his life, while also making the final stretch of his in-ring career more difficult due to the pain. Andre especially began to feel it in his last 10 years. His weight increased, which made him sore, and put more stress on his joints, especially in his back. All of this naturally took its toll in and out of the ring, given the impact and all the traveling on the road.
When you live on the road, you have two choices. You can go out and have a good time, or you can sit in your room like it's a cell. And we went out and had a good time. As he got older, that wears down, and there were days when I left him, and I was in tears. His back, his knees, everything was hurting.
Andre knew he wasn't long for the world, so maintained the same lifestyle. This also meant continuing to wrestle, while also going back and forth from Japan, something Andre did right until his passing in 1993.
It was hard, of course, because he was difficult to get around, but he always wrestled. He had said he would never stop. He wanted to go until the end.
Fans have imagined how different life could have been for Andre had he got surgery to treat his acromegaly. However, Andre's stance was that if this was the size God wanted him to be, then that was the life he was going to live until his final breath.
You never know, maybe tonight will be my last night, maybe tomorrow will be my last night, so I don't make any plans, so just keep going.
Hulk Hogan admittedly wrestled for too long, and even though by the 90s he was essentially working a part-time schedule, the damage had been done performing the atomic leg drop for years in the WWF's rock-hard rings. All that pressure on the back meant the Hulkster would be in pain for the rest of his life.
I had a physical therapist ask me yesterday, if you could be out of pain, or you could have a perfect championship walk, what would you rather have? And I said, I'd rather have the walk. She goes, you're out of your mind. I said, yes, I am.
But yet the roar of the crowd was something Hogan just couldn't give up. In 2002, Hulk faced more back problems after returning to WWE, which reduced his in-ring time over the next 4 years.
They said, oh, you can't wrestle with a knee replacement. I was wrestling with 2 knees and a hip replacement. At WrestleMania 18, I was dragging the Rock around the ring for a half hour.
But the Immortal still wasn't ready to call it a day between the ropes, due to financial troubles brought on from his divorce.
It's amazing that even though I've lost everything else, I still have wrestling.
The Hulkster went on to work a few matches outside the Federation between 07 and 09, while his life was in turmoil. By the time Hulk stepped foot in the squared circle again, which would be for TNA in 2010, the condition of his back meant he couldn't leave his feet much.
I can't hit the ropes, I can't run, I can't take bumps, so...
He was in so much pain that the only way he could even get out of a car and walk into the building was to eat a fistful of Vicodin and drink 8 ounces of vodka.
And against doctor's orders, Hogan wrestled a handful of times for TNA, which would prove to be his final series of matches.
I've already been told that if it gets too bad, you break anything else, or you destroy your spine anymore, we need to do 3 surgeries. The big surgery that we need, you won't live through.
Sting using that, whatever that is, that weapon to spike Hogan now in the head.
Oh my God!
Oh, what a Pele kick that time! To the back of the head of Hogan by Styles. What the hell? What's going on here? What the hell are we witnessing?
I've had 25 surgeries in the last 10 years. So when people say, hey, the wrestling's fake, it goes right up my ass.
After returning to WWE in 2017 and being put in a general manager role, Kurt Angle became inactive in the ring. This proved to be the beginning of the end for his wrestling career, since by the time he was working matches again, Angle had clearly lost a step, moving much slower between the ropes.
Trying to battle out of this. Again, a man he's had major problems with, Baron Corbin. Maybe a step slower than he used to be. Orton completely. Oh, look! Wait a minute! Angle slam!
The time away from the squared circle made Kurt's body go into an arthritic-like state.
And by the time they had me wrestle, I looked like an old man. Taking those 9 months off, especially at my age, close to 50, I shut down. My body shut down. The only time, the reason why I retired is because I was losing a step. And I could see it when I watched me on film. I didn't like what I saw, and I didn't want the fans remembering me as a broken down Kurt Angle. I wanted them to remember me when I was in my prime.
It was sad seeing him like this, since Angle had been the best in the world at one point. It didn't help that he was completely jobbed out in his comeback run, which ended in cruel fashion after being retired by Baron Corbin.
End of days of Kurt Angle. He got him.
The great KHALI was past his prime by the time he made it to WWE. His knees were shot and he couldn't perform anywhere close to the level he had in Japan. Even though he was heavily protected in the Federation, he became more broken down, doing less and less the longer he worked there.
The size of an oak tree. Look at this.
By the end, KHALI was relegated to a lower card comedy act.
The cover. The top rope, both feet have to hit the floor. Oh. And KHALI just eliminated himself. Pressure in the mat. I'm trying to figure out what KHALI's trying to do. By the way, KHALI is not a match.
He did his best work in WWE back in 2006 and 7, and by the time he finally left in 14, fans had been fed up with him for years.
And great KHALI driving elbow after elbow, and KHALI just stomping away at The Undertaker. From the days of the great Andre the Giant, the bigger men, KHALI's offense may be bowling too ugly, but it's very effective. That is a massive arm.
It's no fault of KHALI, since he was so limited given the shape his knees were in.
KHALI could barely walk.
That being said, he was a ginormous star in India and got a lot of eyes on the product from this market. Throughout his tenure in WWE, it got to the point where non-wrestling fans from all over the world became aware of the great KHALI. The Undertaker lost his confidence after suffering a head injury at WrestleMania 30.
Oh, man. Uh-oh, look out, Brock Lesnar again! Back of The Undertaker. Whoa!
I got hurt so bad, I don't even remember that match. So today, I don't remember it.
He came back a year later working a toned-down brawling style that worked well, especially given his age and the fact Taker didn't have long left in the ring.
Show them who the you are. Last year, killed his name.
The Phenom was meant to go out at Mania 33, losing to Roman Reigns. However, the match went so badly, Taker kept wrestling in a bid to finish his career with a match he could be proud of.
Look out! Oh, Reigns trying to overpower The Undertaker. And Undertaker trying to counter, get his legs up.
WrestleMania 34 could have been exactly that, as Undertaker trained hard, expecting a lengthy encounter, similar to that of his previous Mania epics. However, the bout with John Cena ended up being a 2.5-minute squash.
Snake eyes! Followed by the big boot!
I train for 45 and I get 5. You know how it goes.
After 3 stinkers on international shows, including 2 in Saudi Arabia, some fans wanted Taker to call time in his career once and for all.
They do this to The Undertaker! Oh my God!
He came inches, centimeters away from, breaking his neck.
But the Phenom remained in a continuous cycle of wrestling a bad match and then chasing the dragon to finally finish on a good one. Following a tag match at Extreme Rules 2019, where he played his greatest hits, Taker knew he was ready to hang up his boot soon. His retirement came after the cinematic Boneyard match versus AJ Styles at WrestleMania 36. It was the Phenom's best showing since 2015.
Everyone had nothing but positive things to say about it.
And therefore a suitable way to ride off into the night.
This time the cowboy really rides away.
Now if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our similar video on 20 WWE wrestlers who absolutely hated each other in real life. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.